Today, we are going to have a reciting of the great poem Eldorado. It was published in April of 1849 by the muse master of mystery and macabre, Edgar Allan Poe. Edgar Allan Poe was one of the most important and influential American writers of the 19th century. To help explain the context of the story, I'm going to share a prologue with a backstory of Edgar's extremely painful yet triumphant life. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce the orator of today's Eldorado reciting, my mom, Jane Ellen Baly, or Jody, as she prefers to be called. I guess you are getting a bit of a return here on putting an English major through college. Thanks for that. In 1849, Poe was at the zenith of his writing career. Today, we call him the father of the detective story, stemming from his Murder in Rue Morgue story. He transformed the genre of horror by adding a previously unseen new level of psychological depth and insight. Phrases like, "Deep in the earth, my love is lying, and I must weep alone," come to mind, perhaps describing the early death of his wife. Much of Poe's writings are reflective of events that happened around him. Edgar Allan Poe was born in 1809. His parents were two traveling actors, both of whom died when he was 3 years old. Edgar was adopted by wealthy tobacco merchants, and he was separated from his brothers and sisters. Poe excelled in college, but went into extreme debt. His venture in gambling did not solve the matter, and he turned to burning his own furniture to try and stay warm. He was forced to drop out of college. Upon returning home, he found his fiancée was engaged to another man. He lived at home for a while, under tense confrontations with his parents. One day, he left home and set off on a quest to write poetry and live a great adventure. He joined the army, but he was later kicked out. He became the first American to earn a living by writing. He was a lifelong advocate for writers' wages and helped reform copyright so writers could be properly compensated by publishers. Now, Eldorado.
Gaily bedight, a gallant knight, in sunshine and in shadow, had journeyed long, singing a song in search of Eldorado. But he grew old, this knight so bold, and o'er his heart a shadow fell as he found no spot of ground that looked like Eldorado. And as his strength failed him at length, he met a pilgrim shadow. "Shadow," said he, "where could it be, this land of Eldorado?" "Over the mountains of the moon, down the valley of the shadow. Ride, boldly ride," the shade replied, "if you seek for Eldorado."
What enthralls me about the writings of Edgar Allan Poe is that you are invited deep into the pit of dark melancholy, with sounds and meanings of such great beauty that you are shown the means to transcend despair. The boundaries which divide life from death are at best shadowy and vague. Who shall say where one ends and the other begins? Now, I'd like to invite our listeners to join this collective and broadcast. Never before have we had so many means of broadcast. Never before do we have such extra time in our hands. There's a great sickness in broadcast that I invite you to help cure. Rather than be hypnotized by the dull fear in media, take up and perform something that you are passionate about. For when we are louder, those who seek to oppress us with fear become smaller. I hope you take up this challenge. Thank you.